How do you feel about it when you hear people say that?
I cringe.
Let's say somebody comes up to you, a young, promising Saudi artist says, Mohammed, I really want to do this, but I don't want to take it as like a vow of poverty. And I want to be able to have a family, support my family. I want to be able to do all this stuff. Does it look bleak for me? Is there a possibility? What do I have to do in order to have this be something that pays my...
Newsflash, my friend. It is bleak.
Hey, welcome to the Afikra podcast. My name is Mikey Mhenna. Today on the series, we've talked to somebody who I've wanted to talk to on the podcast for, I think, since the podcast started. Mohammed Hafiz is the founder of ATHR Gallery and ATHR Foundation. Two of the, I think, ATHR is like one of the cornerstones of the art scene and art sector in the entire Arab world. So welcome, Mohammed. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mikey, for giving me this opportunity.
لا بالعكس.
I've been wanting to talk to you in Afikra podcast since you started.
لا. Part of the reason, this is a good place to start. Part of the reason is that I want to talk to you because you have a really good sense of humor, and the art crowd in general can be so heavy and so overly serious, taking themselves super serious. And when you mix art and policymakers together, these are can be criticized as being too self-important. What has been your approach to actually being light, funny, friendly, inclusive when you try to do this work? Like what's the secret?
It's a very interesting question that I did not prepare for.
You didn't prepare anyway, Aslan.
Yeah, I didn't prepare for anything, but I've never been asked this question, and but I think because of our maybe lack of experience in the art world, we came into this industry with no prep, no background. It's been 16 or 17 years now, but when we came in with a very open mind. We love art. We love working with artists, and we always enjoyed it, and we want to keep enjoying it.
Yeah.
Don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. There is a playfulness. I mean, there's a joy. There's clearly a joy apparent with the way you do work. Let's go back to those early days when you co-founded ATHR. What were you doing before? Like literally before you decided, okay, there's going to be a brick and mortar thing, or there's going to be an idea that has a name and has a logo and has a website. What was your relationship to the arts before?
So my first encounter we encounter art and beauty and design in our everyday lives. Almost everything we engage with, things
especially
that we
in Jeddah.
Yeah, things that we wear and use and see is kind of part of our everyday life. And I've worked before kind of working in the arts. I've been heading a fashion retail company, a family business. And that was my main kind of focus and job. And before starting in that business, I came across a painting when I was in high school. I think I was 16 or 17 years old. I came across this painting in a gallery in Jeddah that was owned by Hamza Sayrafi, who's my current partner in ATHR. And I loved that painting and kind of had a feeling that I want to spend the rest of my life with this painting. Don't ask me why, but
Can you tell me the name so we can look it up and find it online?
It's a painting by Abdullah Hammaz. He's an artist from Asir. It was a colorful, abstract painting that I still own and is very dear to my heart. And I spoke to Hamza I didn't know Hamza at the time, and I really wanted the painting. So spoke to him about my intentions. He felt, okay, this cute little boy who wants to buy a painting he can't afford. And Hamza has the biggest heart in the world. So he helped me kind of pay it over installments and introduced me to the artist Abdullah, who also thought, oh, what a nice gesture from this cute little boy who wants to buy my painting. And he gave me a nice discount. And I think I paid it over a year or so. And that was the beginning. I think that was the beginning. And I bought other works throughout the years. And in 2007, my family decided to sell this retail company to a private equity bank from Kuwait. At the time, the company had more than 700 stores, 4,000 employees, and I was the CEO, and it was a sizable business. And when we sold it, I thought, what am I going to do with my life? I remained CEO of that company for some years, but different encounters happened. I visited Art Dubai with some friends who introduced me to an art dealer from New York, and we went around, and I saw some interesting aspects of the art world, and realized that there were no Saudi artists showing there, nor Saudi galleries participating, and figured out it could be an interesting opportunity since I love art and there's a gap. So 1 + 1 and equaled an art gallery.
Yeah. Did you, when you walked around Art Dubai at the time, did you think to yourself, industry? Did you come at it from a business person's perspective? Like, okay, there's a business opportunity here. Okay. Like,
So,
yeah.
yes. So when I was walking that year,
This 2009.
8.
So, okay. So we launched in 9.
When I was walking with this person, we come across different booths and artworks, and she was asking me like, how much would you pay for this? What do you think of that? Would you buy this? And all my estimates to everything I liked were so off. Like I would think something is
Higher
worth
or lower?
Oh my God, lower, like crazy lower. And I would think something would sell for $100,000 or $200,000, and I would think that I'm giving a very generous estimate, and it would end up like costing £1 million or £1.5 million. And I'm like, how is this value generated? How did this happen?
You're like, I could do this.
I can do this. Exactly. Like, okay, what? And so that was like how it all started.
Yeah.
And I really liked them. So I really loved those artworks that I couldn't afford. And I thought these genius human beings who can, conceive things, objects that have no use, yet are so beautiful and thoughtful. Maybe I can be a catalyst back home to some of them in working with them in developing their impact, their career, their practices to a level where they can, sit next to those international ones that I saw. And, things kind of evolved from there. I saw that there is definitely a market and a value to consider. There is soft power and cultural diplomacy to consider. There's a voice and a platform that travels, cultures and languages and can touch people in many different ways. So kind of the whole thing unpacked itself with time and experience and many trials and many errors.
Is there an archetype? Like, is there a archetype? I don't know if you describe yourself as a gallerist or as a collector or as an art patron. If I don't know what of those words you thought you were doing when you started, not now, but then. I don't know if you, what did you think you were doing?
I thought I was opening an art gallery.
Okay. So when you said that, right, was there a template? You're like, Anna, I'm going to be the Michael Jordan of Saudi Arabia, right? I'm going to be the blank of Jeddah. Who was the template? What was the formula? You looked and you said, they're doing it right, but they're doing it in Berlin. They're doing it in Beirut. They're doing it in Bogota. Anna, I'm going to do it in Jeddah. I'm going to follow the same script. Who was doing it?
I don't think I looked at an archetype because the way we opened was so unconventional. So after going to that Art Dubai, I came back and spoke to Hamza, who also had a similar experience in Art Dubai and a similar intention of opening an art gallery, and we decided to partner. And then Hamza recommended we open in the 5th floor of the Sayrafi Mall office building, which kind of felt so counterintuitive for me. It's like I come from a retail world, I've opened hundreds of stores, and I had this, location selection criteria in my head, that this location defied each and every one of them.
For somebody who doesn't know these places, why was it?
It's like in the 5th floor, difficult to find. You have to go up on a ramp and get into this rooftop parking and get into an elevator of an office building. And in my head, I thought if you're selling art that's expensive, you need to be visible and accessible. You need to be next to, expensive stores and maybe designer stores or jewelry stores, or it didn't make sense. We held off on that. And while we were holding off on we were approached by a group of art enthusiasts, mainly Stephen Stapleton and Ahmed Mater and Abdel Nasser Gharim, who wanted to do a show for Saudi contemporary artists in London called Edge of Arabia. And they were looking for sponsorship. And we thought, before opening a gallery, this could be an interesting opportunity. If we sponsor them, then we get some insights of how this works. And we didn't know the difference between a selling show and an institutional show, and and this was an institutional non-selling exhibition. We kind of sponsored. I decided with Hamza that we sponsor them. And a funny anecdotal story there, we get an email from Edge of Arabia saying, "Thank you for your sponsorship. Who do you want to credit?" And we're like, we definitely want to credit the gallery that has no name and no logo.
Leave a blank space for us.
Yeah. And we called Hamza and we sat down and like, what do we do? And Hamza said, I have this shop in the mall called ATHR. But it's the shop, I don't like the shop. I feel like, it wanted to be a gallery and a design shop, but it's not working so well. But I love the brand. I love the name. I like the logo. If you like it too, I can close the shop and we can use that. And I thought, nice name. Logo was nice. And was the fastest, most,
Is it? It's the same logo?
No, it evolved with time. But if you Google After, you'll find that logo somewhere on the World Wide Web. But and we sent them that logo and name. We went to that opening, and to our shock and surprise, the opening was so successful. Thousands of people came to see Saudi artists, and I'm like, why are they coming to see this? And the people who came are from all backgrounds. You had the politicians, you had the businessmen, the company, the entrepreneurs, the artists. There was literally thousands of people. And the next morning, all the daily papers in London were reviewing this exhibition. And you had full page reviews and some very interesting responses. And this art has this very loud, unique voice for very little money, but very good quality work. You can have a very big impact on how people perceive what you're trying to say. And so we came back, and Hamza was like, let's open, the fifth floor is ready. You know, since my family owns the property, we can have a good lease term and what have you. And I didn't buy it. And thought, you know what? Maybe we should participate in Art Dubai.
Now
And
we have a logo, we have a name on the kitchen.
we have a name. We sponsor the major art event, so why not?
Yeah.
So we called Art Dubai, and it wasn't easy because art fairs usually kind of go through a very thorough selection process. And the first criteria is, where is your space?
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have a space. So it required some very serious persistence to convince Art Dubai to give us one of the smallest booths I've ever seen in my life. So we went there and we've shown the work. We curated a very impactful booth with a lot of the Edge of Arabia artists who had very big exposure after that show in London.
Who was on? So Ahmed Mater, was Manad part of it?
Ahmed was not part of it.
Okay.
Ahmed was showing with Maliha Tabari at the time in the same year across the hall from us. We had Ayman Yusri was one of our biggest artists for the longest time and still is. And I have to say this for the record because I don't think I have given him enough credit. Ayman Yusri kept the gallery going for its first 3 or 4 years. He's a brilliant artist. He stayed committed with us. He made amazing work and sold very well. We had Noha Sharif, Lulu Al-Hamoud, Raida Ashur. Who else from the Edge of Arabia? Mahal Mallouh. We had a nice group of artists from that Edge of Arabia exhibition, which kind of gave us a lot of credibility. And after the fair and the success we had there, we went back and opened in the fifth floor.
In the location that you thought was a death sentence.
Yes. And we're still there.
Amazing. Okay, so I want to ask you about, just tell us again when that first exhibition was. Tell us the year.
Which, the Edge of Arabia exhibition? Yeah. I think it's, so a
2009? Yeah.
A disclaimer here.
Yeah.
I'm extremely bad with dates and years.
Okay, so 2009, 2010.
No, it was 7-8.
Okay.
Edge of Arabia, 7-8.
Okay. I was part of a panel in Riyadh not too long ago, talking about the art scene in Saudi. And somebody on stage, or somebody in the audience, I forget who, said, it's amazing to see since 2017 and 2016, since the country's really opened up, the emergence of the Saudi art scene. And somebody else said, what are you talking about? The Saudi art scene has been emerged for a long time, way before 2016, 2017. How do you feel about it when you hear people say that?
I cringe. I cringe because art has been around. You know, you talk about artists like Salim and Radawi and Munira Mousli and Sophia bin Zagar, who were kind of the early artists who were sent. Some of them were sent on government scholarships to study art in Italy.
Yeah.
Art was not, this is a tough one, but it was not central or considered like a real business or looked at by leadership and the government as a catalyst for, you know, soft power and cultural diplomacy. And the approach to it is different today. And maybe with all with all these amazing initiatives that we're seeing around the country, whether it's the Biennale, which I know you're very close to, and you've interviewed some of the team members and His Excellency Irakan, the Noor Riyadh and Desert X, and you know, the participation of Saudi in Venice and what have you. These things, of course, bring it closer to people. I do
And
cringe.
Misk as well,
And Misk, of course.
which you're involved in.
Yes. I have to go back to my answer. I cringe, but I understand.
Yeah.
It was a closed situation. People didn't have visibility. Your expectations are based on what you know. And I think it's important for people to ask and to ask the right people and do a little bit of research to understand that it didn't start in 2017. And,
Yeah.
in my journey, if I think of how things start, evolve, peak, and kind of, I won't say decline, but kind of do what they have to do for that specific time is interesting. The evolution. So Edge of Arabia, it started in 2006 or 7 or 8. It peaked. And then it kind of, the times have changed, the requirements have changed, and people's engagement have evolved. Then, 2139 and the Saudi Art Council and Shara, we've had an amazing run for 10 years. We've curated great exhibitions with that initiative. And then different things happened. And now we're living with it's an evolution like everything and anywhere else in the world.
Okay, I want to get to 2139. Can you just introduce it? What is 2139? What is the role of the Saudi Art Council, and what role and where does Jeddah as a city fit into all of this?
Jeddah fits in different places, and I think when you talk about Jeddah, it's only fair to mention our unique public art sculptures that are placed across the city. They were bought in the late 70s and early 80s, and they're some of the most beautiful sculptures that we all lived with and grew up with throughout our lives. And Jeddah being the main port of Hajj and the melting pot of cultures, and the exchange of people coming and trading and exchanging, and even deciding to live in the city has created some very interesting diversity and openness to it.
Yeah.
And the Saudi Art Council, so in 2012, Edge of Arabia came to Jeddah with a show called We Need to Talk that I curated. So I'm whatever title you're going to give me, but I had an attempt with curation. And that show was very successful on many levels. It engaged the public, it generated international interest, and for the opening week we had great interactions on so many levels.
And it's a public show, so the people listening to this is not an underground thing. This is a public, public art show.
Public art show.
Yeah.
And we thought, like, there was this tight group of patrons and art lovers and supporters led by Her Royal Highness Princess Jawahir bint Majid, who has been a big supporter and patron of the arts with her Al-Mansuriyya Foundation and other activities throughout the years. Anyone and everyone kind of thought about this. And I don't know, I can't remember or recall the details, but we had this, if Edge of Arabia was great, why don't we do something similar every year? Like a curated exhibition showing Saudi artists and maybe international ones, engage the public and, keep it going. It's a nice thing to do. It gives artists a great platform. It gives the city a very nice moment. Everyone in the city looked forward to this week or 3-4 months, the exhibition, but the opening week is, the vibrant one. We kind of all decided to create the Saudi Art Council with the intention of doing this annual exhibition called 2139, just to clarify, 2139 is the coordinates of Jeddah. So a lot of people think, why these numbers? Just to make it clear to
Yeah, it's 21'39" if you're looking for it online. Yeah.
So, and that's how it was born. And you look at artists that are doing amazing things for our nation today. A lot of them has shown there before, and before showing there, they've shown in an exhibition we do in ATHR Foundation called YSA, Young Saudi Artists, and it's kind of the first step that artists go through. And we, in that initiative of YSA, I think we have more than 400 alums, where some of them are now artists representing our nation in Venice, and others have decided to quit art and working as cultural professionals in different entities around the country. So it's very, I like this podcast. I'm kind of going down memory lane, and
I like it too.
and remembering some really really nice moments.
I want to talk about Jeddah. I have a joke that I wrote that nobody seems to find funny except me, but I'll tell you. This is the joke. The joke is, how do you know somebody's from Jeddah when you're in Riyadh?
How?
They'll tell you immediately.
Okay.
What is it about Jeddah where a Jeddawi is like through and through from Jeddah? Where no matter if they move to Riyadh, they tell you immediately. And no, I'm from Jeddah.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't do that when I'm in Riyadh. I don't know the people you meet. I don't know. Jeddah is, every city
But am I imagining this?
No, I don't think you are, but every city has its traits.
Yeah.
And I think everyone who belongs to any city is proud of where they come from and proud of the greater nation that they belong to. And as human beings, we thrive to belong. But if you talk about, Jeddah, again, being the coastal city, being the gateway to Hajj, you have, so that kind of reflects on its people and the way they behave and conduct themselves. If you go to Mecca, you'll find different traits. And Qasim, they're known to be the traders and the businessmen. And in the Eastern Province, it's all oil industry and Aramco, and they're always on time and wake up very early. So, depends where you're from, and dynamics around it influences your behaviors.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk again about sort of the life of an artist and how that's changed. Okay, so you mentioned back in 2009, 2007, this view that the art industry was maybe not a serious sector, and maybe on an individual level wasn't maybe a serious career. It was a passion, a hobby, but it's maybe not something that is that could pay your bills forever.
Yes.
All right. Part of that is because it's hard to establish IP laws. It's hard to protect IP. It's hard to maybe sell art in a illiquid market. It's not necessarily easy as a trade, right? As individual artists. How has that changed in the last 15 years of you being in the game? Let's say somebody comes up to you, a young, promising Saudi artist, says, Mohammed, I really want to do this, but I don't want to take it as like a vow of poverty. And I want to be able to have a family, support my family. I want to be able to do all this stuff. Does it look bleak for me? Is there a possibility? What do I have to do in order to have this be something that pays my...
Newsflash, my friend. It is bleak. Deciding to be an artist is a very easy decision. Making it as an artist is extremely challenging. So, and that's not unique to Saudi. It's a global phenomenon. You know, for people, clients, museums, curators to endorse paying $100,000, let's say, take this number as an example, for a work that, takes someone 2 weeks to make, and $500 for a work, another one, that took the same time from another person to make. It's very interesting. I'm sure you know Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
So Mr. Beast has posted a video every day for many, 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 many years. And no one saw any of it.
Yeah, of course.
But he kept on doing it. And he kept on doing those posts and these videos and these uploads.
And I can relate to this very intensely. This is hitting a little too close to home.
And I think his breakthrough came when he streamed himself for like a month live, or counted to 3 million in a continuous video. Like, he did something absolutely crazy, bonkers. And in that long video, people started to engage. He built up momentum, and he kind of took off from there. And everyone that sees his, let's say, Amazon series thinks, oh my God, this kid is cashing millions from a very easy job.
Yeah.
It's exactly like the comment you get, oh, what is this painting with one line red, and why is it 2 million? Maybe because that artist worked for 30 years building a career and creating a narrative for himself, that he arrived to a point where he can do something. You have to look at the art historical background. So the thing from the point I want to make for artists is that it is a long, painful journey. If you're good, it's long, it's painful, it requires commitment, consistent, maybe taking a job while you're doing it, maybe it's not easy. I know some of the most brilliant artists in Saudi who could sustain their lives by making and selling their art are not fully jumping on the wagon because of the nature of the risk that comes with it. And they're keeping a job and doing their art. It's not easy making that decision and becoming a full-time artist, or to become an artist. And we in ATHR hope and think that we can support the artists we work with and help them develop their careers in a way to reach that point.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, you have a keen eye on this type of stuff. Do you think art in general, contemporary art, also goes through those waves? Like, do you think we are in a moment where people are, the general public happen to be excited about art? They know the word Biennale. They've heard of Art Dubai. They like the idea of these things. They like going to openings. Heck, in general.
Yeah.
But that also goes through peaks and valleys. And in 15 years, we might be at a point where really people don't really care about quote unquote contemporary art. Is that like an existential threat that you think about?
What do you think contemporary art is?
Me personally?
Yes.
Art that's made today.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Because, people think contemporary art is art that is kind of edgy and anyway, but it's art that's made today that can be any form of art. Could be NFTs, could be a painting, but it's art that is made by an artist who is living.
Yeah.
And the simple answer is not an existential threat, but of course, the ups and downs happen. And we are seeing or experiencing an art and cultural renaissance in Saudi Arabia. Could continue and could normalize. And I think it should normalize. But while it's the difference between between our situation in Saudi, and let me do my disclaimer here. This is a very important disclaimer.
Yeah.
These are my views. And
They do
these
not
are my-
represent.
And one of the fascinating things that happen in life is that the same group of people could go through the same event and have completely different experiences and memories and reactions to that event. So I want to just make sure that this is what I think. These are, they might be wrong. Someone might have been sitting next to me in a situation that had a completely different experience, finding knowledge and whatever from it. And please don't take that personally, anyone listening, because it creates issues sometimes. But I wanted to throw in this disclaimer because these are the way I personally see things and experience them and developed memories out of them based on my experiences and expectations. Now, because I gave you the disclaimer, I forgot what we were talking about.
Contemporary art. This idea, like, is this going through peaks and valleys?
Yes. So the difference in Saudi, in comparison to maybe other places in the world, East or West or whatever, is that we're building the ecosystem. There were no museums. Museums are coming. There was no Biennale. Biennale is happening. There was no Art Week or Art Fair. We've experienced Art Week 3 weeks ago. So when you build these fundamental components, and I might have forgotten some, but when you build fundamental components, you create and generate interest that didn't exist. Now, with this interest, you might see a peak where a lot of people are testing and trying and experimenting and engaging. And then some of them would decide, you know what, this is not for me. I want to go somewhere else. And eventually, some must stay. And I think, that's how I see it, basically.
Okay. Have you ever heard this? There's a very classic quote from Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix. When somebody asked him, who is Netflix's biggest competitor, he said it's sleep.
Yeah.
And we're trying to keep people awake as long as possible. And we're not competing with anyone else. As a participant in this industry and as somebody who's just spectating the industry, and I see art weeks happening all over, right? At the same time, right? Abu Dhabi Art Week, Dubai Art Dubai, Sharjah happening at the same time as Jeddah, same time as Riyadh. It's all this corridor of public activity. One could say, okay, listen, these people are not competing at all. A rising tide raises all ships, lifts all ships. One could say, no, this isn't a race. And one could say, actually, Riyadh is actually competing with Venice and is competing with Hong Kong and is competing with Berlin and New York. And it's has nothing to do with this regional competition. What do you think is your impression when you see all these things happening at the same time? Are you like, this is coordination, this is being complementary, this is competition, and competition is good? What sounds about right to you or feels about right?
I think complementing each other and competing is interesting and important. And this is whatever activities are happening in the corridor you mentioned are nothing compared to what's happening in Europe or the States or China. Nothing. We're just beginning. So maybe we're overwhelmed and we feel it's a bit too much because we're in the eye of the storm. We hear about all of them. We go to all of them. It's our industry. And we're like, 15 years ago, there was nothing or maybe two things. And now there are a gazillion things. But for them, the average user who lives in Riyadh or Jeddah or Dubai, it's like, Art Dubai is happening again. Do I have to go to all these other, things that are happening around? If I'm interested, I'll pick one or two. But it's good to have a choice for the user. It's good to have a choice for the artists. It's good to have more high-profile, respected moments in the year to show your art in your region. Because if you're going to rely on showing internationally, then you're competing with a massive pool, and that pool has their regional and international events already set up in their calendars, and they're showing here and there, and they have the small museums and the large museums and the whatever. I'm not gonna bore you with all of the hierarchies of the industry, but it's kind of forming and happening, starting to happen here in our region. And I think it's very healthy.
How does it connect to the rest of the economy? Like how much does it actually help the rest of the economy? Are we talking about like just an effect on society, or is it actually a generator of currency coming into the economy?
It should become a generator of currency.
Yeah.
I don't think it is yet. But if you look at, it's been a while that I haven't looked, and it would be very interesting for anyone to look at the percentage of GDP that comes from the creative industries in a country like France or the UK or
it's huge, actually. It's a massive thing, because like when you think about gaming and you think about obviously entertainment, it's a huge number.
So the creative economies are a sizable contributor to GDP. And when you're doing it sort of greenfield, or you have a field that you're expanding and growing and cultivating, you have so much potential to create more economic impact with the different industries in the creative world.
I'm actually looking this up as we speak, because I'm really curious, because I think, this is like what they call CCI. Okay, so in France, the economic output's of about 92 billion, about 3%. In the UK, it's almost 6%, 124 billion. In the US, it's 4%. And in Germany, it's 3%. In China, it's almost 5%. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a sizable, and I think this is why, or this is the numbers that leadership and governments are looking at and saying, we haven't done much of this, and we have so much to do and to gain by giving the creative industries the right platforms and the right possibilities. And if you think of, let's take an average of 5%, all these events that are happening are fine. Let's have more.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask you about specific Saudi artists. Okay, and I'm going to ask you questions that you probably don't want to be asked. Okay, best if you were to put together like a dream team. Okay, which you've probably been asked this type of question before. Best if you were to put together a dream team, let's say about 5 people.
Yes.
Maybe one off the bench, 6 people. How would you construct that dream team?
Dream team of artists?
Yeah. Living, passed away.
From Saudi Arabia?
From Saudi. Let's stick it to Saudi.
So you've mentioned something that I want to touch on. The industry goes through ups and downs.
Yeah.
And it goes through trends. Let's call them trends. And it also responds, art is very personal. And, there are a lot of good artists. I might like some more than others. Me. And that doesn't mean that one is better than the other. And sometimes, so the whole thing here, the why I'm beating around the bush is I'm not going to say names. Not gonna happen.
Mikey, I'm happy for Bravo عليك. You tried to ask the question.
Yeah.
You're not going to give me. Okay.
You're not, no, I'm not cash. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna
شو
happen.
عم تفكر انت؟ That's this question. All right, I want to switch gears. You spent your early career as a business person. You understand KPIs, you understand mission statements and 5-year or 10-year plans. You understand all this stuff. Okay. And in order to run an organization that has 400 stores and 7,000 employees, you really understand it. Okay. So when you think about ATHR, the gallery and the foundation, what is the 10-year plan of this institution? What does success look like when you think about it on a 10-year basis?
Very nice question. Thank you.
Yeah. This one you will answer.
This one, I've practiced this answer quite well because I get to ask this question quite a lot. And
Okay.
the very brief answer is I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because why? It's not like I have no idea, like we don't know what we're doing, but we thought, especially from 2016 onwards, with such a dynamic space that has so many moving parts, do we want to something specific and rigid with expectations and KPIs that are kind of detailed, or we want to be agile and flexible and nimble and respond to all these different developments that are happening and be one of the strategic partners for artists, for different government agencies and collectors. So we decided to apply the latter.
Yeah.
And be very open to different possibilities and activities with artists and with commissioning and project management and shipping and logistics. And as you said, because of our business background, we kind of balance it between both. So
Yeah.
success in 10 years is a very difficult question to answer.
It's funny because it's like, I think you're in Jeddah right now. Am I calling?
No, I'm actually in Dubai.
Okay. But like when somebody lands in Saudi, specifically in Riyadh, you can't help but see everything with a countdown to 2030.
Yeah.
There is a clear long-term vision and very clear KPIs and very clear success or failure mindset, right?
Yes.
The clock is ticking. We are going to hit certain metrics.
Yes.
We are going to make Riyadh the capital of gaming in the region.
Yes.
We are going to bring Formula One, and we're going to make a car, and whatever you want, there is a clear yay or nay. Are we doing it or are we not doing it? Right?
And when and how?
When and how. So it's interesting to be able to like almost push back against that from, obviously you're not when it comes to ATHR, it's not from a public sector standpoint, but to say, no, in this case, in this foundation, it's a private initiative, no vision. Let's go with the flow.
If there are so many visions out there
Yeah.
that we can piggyback on, that are communicated very clearly, written and conceived by some of the best minds in the world, and it's being realized, and we see them. Our decision is to be more responsive to those visions and be the most, flexible entity within culture that could engage with the different elements of the visions and the different agencies and be their best potential partner in realizing what they want to do.
Yeah.
So that's one side. But on another side, the development of artists and growing their careers and their impact on a global platform is definitely something that we want to grow. Seeing Saudi artists in more local and international cultural events, biennials, museum shows is very important for us, and we work very hard on positioning them with the right in the right situations, because this is where the long-term value is created, whether from an art historical perspective, curatorial, or even monetary. And our long-term vision that we know that's kind of clearest to us is the journey with the artists we represent and work with.
Have you noticed a shifting of the tide from in Europe or in the States from these biennials? Whereas like maybe 10, 15 years ago, there was we're not showing Saudi artists. And now has there been a moment, a specific inflection point, or just like you're slowly melting the...
Yeah, it's slowly melting. Yani we've seen after Saudi did, I think, you see Saudi participated in Venice with their own pavilion. I don't know if it's maybe 3 times or 4, I'm not sure, 3 maybe. And Saudi artists have been participating in the Venice Biennial's main exhibition, I think also 2 or 3 times. So they're selected by the curators. And it's a snowball effect that happens gradually and over time, but there is definitely, the art world is interesting, and there are specific pockets. There is the market, as the intellectual side, the art historical side, the curatorial side, the institutional side, and the market is following the market. So we have to, call a spade a spade. There's a lot of investment in art in Saudi, and all the major dealers are looking at this opportunity and trying to make the best of it. And you also have the curatorial intellectual side, where curators and intellects and art historians are looking into Saudi that is opening up and want to, show that conversation on a global platform, because art is, a universal language. So, and when you have a major voice absent, you have a kind of unbalance in your representation and conversation with the rest of the world, and you want to consider including that. So it's kind of happening. I won't say through kind of a pivotal point or a moment in time, but it will gradually evolve.
When you meet art collectors and gallerists and patrons around the world, and they said to you, you know what, I've heard that Saudi art's really hot. I've heard Saudi art is really hot, and somebody told me I should buy now because it's only getting more expensive. Would you say, Akid? What would you say?
I would say it's never a very good idea to buy art as an investment primarily. It's not a very good idea, in my opinion. Especially if it's a contemporary art. It's very difficult to speculate where these artists will be 20, 30 years from now. And I think you should buy art because you like it. You should buy an artwork because it evokes an emotion in you and you feel like you want to spend the rest of your life with it. You should buy art because it's made by someone that you respect and you've read about or met and found fascinating, and you want to own something that this person has made. You should buy art that reminds you of a moment or an experience you had in your life, a person, an encounter. And you should also, but all of these replaced shoulds with coulds. You could buy art because you want to belong to a community, and the marketing or kind of visibility of an artist or an artwork. If you hang it at home, people when they come and they say, "Oh, you have this, like this other one that I saw somewhere else, or was at the Biennale, or was here or there," and you want that association. And you can also buy art as an investment. And Saudi art is hot is maybe an overstatement, to be honest. It's good. It's enjoying some nice moment, good visibility. But it's maybe because I don't. So one of the things I learned in life is try my best to keep my emotions within and reactions within a reasonable logical range. Don't overreact upwards nor downwards. Nothing good comes from that. So I tell anyone who, that's what I'd say.
Okay. My last question to you, Mohammed,
Wow.
is let's say somebody comes to you. Let's say it's a art collector from Korea, art collector from not the West, right? The East,
Okay.
or the global South, or whatever. That's not Europe or America. Comes to you and says, I'm retired. I like traveling, and I want to, and I have a keen interest in the Arab world. Like, my daughter is dating an Arab, and I want to learn about the Arab world. And so I want to take 2 months and travel and go to 5 or 6 places, each for 1 week, and go to the best galleries and museums and meet people. And I trust your judgment. What should be on my itinerary? What cities should I go to and to explore art from the Arab world? I'm a sophisticated lover of art.
Okay. Not in any order of priority or importance, but I think definitely I'd recommend Jeddah and Riyadh and Dammam. So Jeddah, because of the historical town, the Al-Balad is unique and magical. Team Lab Borderless is an amazing museum. Go on in the year of the Islamic Biennale, where you're going to see art and visit the galleries, and you're going to have a good time. Riyadh, because of Jax, and also go in the Contemporary Biennale year. Misk is there, Samokka, and Al Musa galleries, and you'll get a nice flavor of the city. Dammam for Ithra, so it's a very quick visit, maybe a day trip. Bahrain for Muharrag, Sheikh Ibrahim Foundation, and the Pearling Path. Brilliant architecture, amazing museums, the restoration of Muharrag. I give Sheikh Hamay a massive salute for that. Then I would visit Doha, check out Madhaf and the National Museum, and what Sheikh Hamayasa has on her program, the lighthouse, the firehouse,
Yeah.
fire station, the fire station, and a lot of Asub Waqif. It's a lot of nice things to see there. Sharjah for the Biennale and what Sheikh Khawr is doing. Amazing. Then I'll move to Dubai, check out Al Sirkal and the museums. Yani Abdul Min'am's been a dear friend and a major patron in the city. And the galleries in Al Sirkal are definitely a nice stop, and you can do that during the Art Dubai week. Go to Abu Dhabi, the Louvre, Team Lab. Maybe wait until the Guggenheim is opened because you want to visit that, and a lot of other museums, some galleries to see, and maybe plan to go either during the Public Art Biennale or the Art Fair or the Cultural Summit. And also visit Miza, which is the new and up-and-coming district for art and culture. Don't forget about Cairo. because they're opening an amazing museum, and they have a brilliant historical, cultural monuments to see and check out. And if you go to Cairo and look at the history, then maybe visit Al-Ula to check out the old town and the Nabataean ruins. You can't do all of those without visiting Beirut, because Beirut is just magical. The artists there, the galleries, the history, the life, the food is so good. And I'm sure there are other places that I haven't been to. I haven't been to Tunis. I didn't spend enough time in Morocco. And I hope I didn't miss anything or anyone in my recommendations.
Perfect.
And I've done this off the bat with no prep. I could have forgotten someone, and maybe Asir. Go to Asir. Asir could be nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will confirm no preparation at all. Off, as they say, right off the dome. Mohammed, thanks so much. I really, really appreciate this. If anyone is interested, you can find ATHR Gallery where you find things. It's very easy to find online. Is there anything that people should know about before we stop?
No, I guess just anything you want to know about, you ask either Google or ChatGPT, you're going to get your answers.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Mikey. Have a wonderful weekend.